Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of America in Black and White. I would like to thank you all for another episode of Money Thursday. Yes, sir. Today we will be talking about finance. We'll be talking about finance with as to what people in underserved communities need to learn about money, how to make money work for them, how to leave generational wealth, and our main thing is we will be talking about budgeting. Well, let's just get this thing started. What we're going to start with first is we're going to be talking about the importance of financial literacy in the Black community. This is important for many, many reasons. One of the reasons is in the Black communities, underserved communities, what's happening is there's too much gentrification, there's too many abandoned and condemned houses, and there's just a lot of not upkeep to keep properties looking as well as they should. It's not all, but there's a lot of it. And so, what needs to happen is if we're going to own some property, we want to make sure that we're doing the things that's necessary in order to keep this property looking about as best as possible because getting returns on property value nowadays is like it's just nonsensical to say that that's not where you should be, but there are a lot of areas that in the underserved communities to where this is just not happening. So, what you want to do first is you want to make sure that you're maintaining where you're living, the things you have going on. That is from schools, um, to just regular maintenance on your house. That is keeping your lawn cut. That is from having your groceries in your house when you need to eat, when you want to eat, and most important, if you decide that you want to splurge and do a little entertainment, you'll be able to do that. Now, what I want to tell you guys about first here is I want to read to you some things about economic trends and their impact on personal finance. In today's dynamic global economy, mastering personal financial or finance demands more than routine budgeting. It requires a strategic approach to navigate the ever shifting tides of economic trends. As a thought leader in the realm of personal finance, I present a concise guide to empower individuals in making informed decisions amidst complexities of our financial landscape. Now, I've got 5 tips that I'm going to be, that I'm going to talk to you guys about when it comes to this. But also, I'm going to try to break this down a little bit easier to make sure that it's about as elementary as possible. The first thing is understanding macroeconomic trends. Now, when we're talking about macroeconomics, we're talking about the global economy. We're talking about the entire world, the global economy. So there's a difference between macro and micro. We're talking about macro. Micro is just a small, dimmed down part of economics. We're talking about the whole entire picture. Macroeconomic trends are the heartbeat of the financial world. Savvy individuals recognize the importance of analyzing GDP growth, inflation, and interest rates. This insight forms the bedrock for anticipating broader economic shifts, enabling informed decisions that safeguard and enhance financial well being. Okay, so what this is simply stating to is what we as individuals need to understand is that when we talk about the global economic system, we're talking about everything is included. It includes each and every nook and cranny on the face of this earth. Okay, and so when we talk about the savvy individuals, we're talking when we talk about GDP growth, inflation, and interest rates. GDP is what's measured to tell you the strength of the economy. And so that means, they take like just certain parts of the macro system, such as unemployment, how much money is in the economy, if there's inflation, how high it is, and also the interest rates part. So when we talk about inflation, inflation is this thing that happens every so often. But when inflation happens, that's when you see the start of prices start to rise. And when prices are rising, they're rising, and that means that there's something, there's a part of the economic system that's not balanced. And what that's doing is when it's causing prices to go up, that normally means that there's no demand. So if there's no demand and prices are going high, then there's going to be a little problem there. And when we talk about interest rates determine, if you're trying to get a loan, that is from personal loans, business loans, cars, houses. Ooh. Those are the loans that I'm speaking of. And so what happens is, based on your credit is how you get your interest rates. So let's just say what has transpired over these last couple of years is that there was so much money in the economy that inflation went high, prices went high, where now people can't afford groceries because what you was normally spending of, let's say, maybe $50, where you was getting enough food where it could last you for a week. That same situation now is you'll be paying like $150 for groceries. And so that's because inflation was up so high. But now that it's coming down, all of that's changing. So that's a good thing. And so when it mentions to enabling informed decisions that safeguard and enhance financial well-being, what that's simply stating is that it allows you, the individual, to make the right decision based on the economic trends of what you're seeing and what's going to best benefit what you have in your pocket to spend. And so, therefore, it would allow you to safeguard and enhance the financial well beings of your life. So, basically, in other words, you should be able to live an affordable life if, based on these trends, if everything goes as to the way you understand them to be, it can help you out. Number two, technology's impact on personal finance. Now, this is big because the trend now, everything is about technology. The digital revolution has ushered in unprecedented opportunities and challenges. From fintech innovations to the advent of cryptocurrencies, adapting to technological advancements is paramount. Embracing these changes equips individuals with the tools needed to efficiently manage their finances amid the rapid evolution of the financial landscape. Okay, so where we are with this is when you cross-reference cryptocurrency with technology and with it being innovative. Now we know that cryptocurrency is not really a regulated market, but everything's going crypto. And so with the changes that are coming, it's going to be one of those things that is going to become an everyday thing. Now, what you're going to need to learn to do is that if you're going to trade, within cryptocurrency, you're going to need to learn how that market works. And it doesn't work normally like the regular stock market. It does not work the same. But even though it does not work the same, what's being allowed for you as the individual is opportunities to fluctuate and to work within the trends when they're going up and down, so you'll know when to hold, when to fold. Okay, so it gives you that opportunity. And so with technology's advancements, the advancements of technology now that it's gone like way beyond and very fast as to what we as adults or individuals could actually adapt to. What that means is that the AI technology is growing so rapidly and so fast that it's replicating not on a daily basis, but like sometimes maybe I'm going to say maybe 5 times a day, technology is changing just that quick. So what has to happen is, for your own personal finance, what you want to do is you want to be able to understand how that works. You want to understand where it's coming from, but also where it's going. So as long as you learn where it's going, it is going to have some good things in it that you'll be able to be more than beneficial from. You'll be able to take advantage of what's actually happening that's going to allow you the opportunity to grow your monetary value just as much as the next person. Number 3, we're going to be talking about investing wisely in volatile markets. In volatile economic climates, strategic investing takes center stage. A diversified portfolio and a long-term perspective are the linchpins of success. This balanced approach not only addresses risk, but positions individuals to capitalize on opportunities that arise during uncertain times, showcasing the importance of foresight and financial strategy. So here we go. Now, when we talk about investing, you definitely knowing that not everybody's doing that in the Black community, because a lot of people just feel like they cannot afford to take a chance on losing their money and not getting anything back, because one, they don't have the jobs to do that. They don't have that extra income like that. And they're just not just having that opportunity. They might love it, but this is where I think this changes. And I think for each and every individual out there, I'm going to tell you, you should take the opportunity at least to learn how investing works, how these markets work. Just take the time to learn. You can learn a little bit at a time. You don't have to like spend your whole day, but just learn a little bit at a time. As you learn it, I can guarantee you're going to get something back in return, especially if you start to play. Because what you want to do is you never want to go in aggressive unless you've got money to do that. But as long as you're moderate to slow, you can play. You can play into this market, and you can like get maybe some stocks or some instruments that might not be working that fast, but they may be positive, and they may be positive based on the trends in which they are under within the market itself. Now, the volatility of the market is that when you have one part of the market that's like totally, um, let's just say, it's vulnerable, and with it being vulnerable, that means that there's some things that's got some uncertainty. And so, unless you understand how that trend is going to work and you want to hold and not sell, then that means that probably, you've got some tip, or you feel very comfortable with letting things just ride. So, but the market is a good place to be. Right now, the economy is good. So just get in, learn, and as you learn, you try to just get you a few little pieces of stock, and see how it works and how it takes off. Now, you won't be able to do this unless you have your broker. So you're gonna need to learn the things about brokers and what they do as well, because a lot of these brokerages will not allow you to go through them to get stock if you're not spending a particular amount of money. Okay, now we're talking about the role of policy changes. Government policies wield considerable influence, from tax reforms to fiscal stimulus. A thought leader comprehends the implications of these changes and provides insights into adapting financial strategies accordingly. Staying abreast of legislative developments is key to proactively managing one's financial future. Now, what we're going to talk about here is this is what the Biden administration has done to more than just stimulate the economy, because I want to say that they have done the best job of doing this since President Obama was in the White House. There's that period in between after President Obama and before President Biden, where the world, the economy, the everything had just like went basically down in the tank because the occupier that was then in the White House was not doing anything to stimulate the economy. They didn't care. Only thing they cared about was the top 1% getting what they felt like they deserved, but nobody else benefited. And people can say the same thing now, but in actuality, that's not the whole truth. Okay? Because there are parts of the economy that works for everybody, but the majority of the economy does not work for everyone. Because if you're not as diversified as you like to be, and you're in like investing in like 4 or 5 different areas, to create a diversified portfolio, then that's not going to work for you. You want to have about as diversified portfolio as you could possibly have. So when you do, you are able to make as much money as you possibly can. Now, some of the examples that I think that people should be looking at is, you can go and you can download on your computer, these apps like for markets to watch, like Microsoft Money. You can download Microsoft Money, and the stock that you feel are really, really important to you, you can put them all on track and you can watch their performances every day. So at the end of the day, it'll tell you how they're doing, but it also gives you the trend. So you'll know if they're doing this or you'll know if they're doing this. But something that's moderately to rising like this is normally something that's actually pretty good. A lot of pieces of the market start out like that, but it never ends that way. And reason being is because the trends for most product is not the same. So and this fifth tip is building resilience through financial literacy. Financial literacy is the cornerstone of resilience. Educating oneself about economic trends, investment options, and risk management lays the foundation for stability. In a rapidly changing economic landscape, continuous learning becomes a powerful tool for individuals striving to secure their financial well-being. This is the most important part. This particular tip is the most important tip for the Black communities or the underserved communities around this country. This is the most important tip: financial literacy. What you want to make sure you do when you're talking about the cornerstone of resilience is that once you learn to educate yourself on the economy, the economic system, and you're able to understand the difference in not just trends, but how to read the trends before they happen, to know when to hold, when to fold, how much to buy, when to not buy it, things of that nature. Once you learn how to do those things, you're in the driver's seat. Now, again, this is all just a science, nothing's exact, but you can always get to that point to where once you start understanding from a trend perspective how this really works, it'll work miracles for you. And the next thing is when we talk about investment options. Now, the options that you have, can be one of many. You can, as I said, you can get stocks, you can get bonds, you can get instruments like IRAs, you can do mutual funds. They all play hand in hand. But the thing is, when you diversify, you don't want to get something that's going to be so slow, or you don't want anything that's too aggressive, because you can either totally lose your money, or the growth period in which you pick could be too long to see your stuff growing. So if that happens, then you're in a bad predicament. So you want to make sure that your risk is not high. You always want to play in this market when you understand it. You want to go about as moderate as possible, but you're never trying to get in too aggressive, because if you're overly aggressive, chances are, there's that time where you could land on red three, and you wound up on red three, and most likely you're going to be paying up the ante. So you want to be careful with that. The other thing is, in the changing economic landscape, what you guys want to do is you want to make sure, excuse me, you want to make sure that everything that you're looking at, everything that you want to track, you want to make sure you're looking at it on a daily basis or a weekly basis, and you want to make sure you're seeing the trends. Is it doing this? Is it doing this? Is it doing this? You want to know. And see, based on what you see, you want to make sure that you understand exactly what that means before you start putting money to it. So, in conclusion, navigating economic currents necessitates a proactive and informed stance. Thought leaders empower individuals to make strategic decisions by understanding macroeconomic trends, embracing technology investment, investing wisely, adapting to policy changes, and prioritizing financial literacy. It's a roadmap to confidently sail the currents of the economic landscape. Okay, so what that is simply going to do for you is that's going to help you get started with where you need to go, but also just give you some ideas as to how things can actually work for you. You know that if you're going to go and you're going to create a tracker via, let's say, Microsoft Money, then you'll know that when you pick the stock that you pick that you want to trend and track every day or every week or month, you'll be able to go back and you'll see exactly what that stock is doing and what it did. Because I always suggest you do it daily. And I think weekly is as long as you want to go, because you're not really getting the real economic trend if you're in for this week on Monday and you pull it before next Monday. What is the chance you're going to get something back on a turn? You're not going to get anything. Okay, now we're going to talk about wealth building strategies for people of color. Now, that's something that we could talk about forever and a day. Now, most of us don't have a lot of money, but the money that we've got to be able to make that money work for us. Now, when you want to build wealth, you can go and you can do stuff like investment properties. You can invest into a real small business like, an e-commerce store. You can do lawn services, just things of that nature that kind of moves a little bit quick, and you get a chance to see each and every dollar that you've earned. And so, how this what this works hand in hand with is budgeting. And so, let me tell you about budgeting, because when you budget, that leads to many, many things. That leads to savings, that leads to rainy day fund, that leads to whatever it is that you need, you're able to get it. Just do it, because I don't think too many people are trying to are trying to get someone to just go and put their money into something that's just not going to work for them. So when we talk about budgeting 101, the first thing you want to learn about this is you want to learn what how can you actually track your money, each and every dime that you brought in. Okay. First thing is every time you're paid, you're gonna write down what that check was. And so once you get the amount that you're due, that you have earned, and you're putting that in, you want to put that on your budget spreadsheet because this is revenues that have come in. So what you want to do for the month, you want to make sure that all revenues that's come in. So every time you've gotten paid, if it's two paychecks or if it's three, you want to take those, you want to put those in, and when you put them in, your next thing is what's going out. And so with that being said, if you're going to put the money in there as to what's going in, but then also what's going out, which will be your expenses, you want to make sure that you track each and every last one of those. I suggest you do it on a daily basis because, for the services I provide, for accounting, bookkeeping, I have to make sure that there's a journal entry done each and every day for the things that my clients have done that day. So once you've got that in, then what happens is it allows you to actually go back and take some time, to make sure that everything is right and you move forward. That's where we are right now. So, at any rate, so when we go on from the budgeting, you want to make sure that you think about saving. So you want to think about how much do you want to save? How much do you want to put into a 401k? How much do you want to start a Roth IRA with? And so for many people, it's different. But I'll tell you, if you're going to do a base across the board, you want to do everything at 3%. That is, you want to at least allocate 3% of your salary to your 401k. You want 3% of that remaining income that you get is what you want to get um, to put away in your savings. You also um, want to make sure that if you're going to do um, just a Roth in general, that when you do it, it actually turns out a whole lot better than what it was looking. So, our next thing from that is that once you go from budgeting, budgeting is going to help you to dictate how much money you're saving, why you're saving the money, and who does it benefit. Who does it benefit? Our next thing is we're going to be talking about addressing. Well, no, I'm sorry. There's one other thing I want to talk to you guys about, which is diversifying, your portfolios. And so when we talk about the guide to diversification, I mean, I have a guide here that I would definitely love to share. Um, that helps you to learn about the many different ways of moving money around and making it work. Like as I mentioned earlier, like a Roth. Um, there's also um, the situation where you're actually moving money from the Roth, and you're moving money from 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 your check that you're putting into your savings account. And um, well, those are the main two. And so with those, you want to make sure that when you're moving this money around, that this money has got this chance of actually growing. And so when you stand up on the trends, what that means is that if it's trending and it's moving and it's working, and it's been like that for, let's say, a couple of years is fine, but you're gonna have to worry about moving your money over to another situation. So our next thing from this is going to be addressing the racial wealth gap in America. This is truly one of the sad things to talk about, but it's true, and that is in the Black communities, unemployment is still low, it's still down, and um, it's one of those things that's not really a good thing, but um, it's just for some strange reason, it's just been one of those things that an enormous amount of people of color um, just haven't been able to find jobs. And so, with that being said, you got to try to think about, if you've got kids, you've got to think about generational wealth. So you got to think, what is it that you can do, or what can you start that's going to help to address this racial gap, when it comes to finance and money. That is entrepreneurship. Um, if you've got something that you're passionate about, then I'm going to tell you that you should just um, just do as much as you possibly can. I mean, I know that it's going to be kind of hard to just like take away um, money from what should be going maybe to pay some bills, to try to save it or move it somewhere else. That's going to be pretty tough. I just hate the idea that after all this time, that the economical gap is still the same. So our next thing is going to be tips for budgeting and saving money effectively. When you save money, of course, you have a savings account, but you got to remember that's not money for you to touch. That's not money for you to touch. Um, you need to leave that money in the bank, but you do not want to be running around here playing with that money, because it's not going to get you anywhere. But what it's going to do is going to cause you an enormous amount of problems. And the reason why it's going to cause you an enormous amount of problems is because there's nothing that's going to make up for that money that you take away if you decide to take it out. So our next thing is investing in the stock market and building a diversified portfolio. So if you're going to do stock is always good. Um, but you want to look at some instruments that that you're going to be comfortable with when you're moving around trying to diversify your portfolio. You're going to be looking at something like maybe some mutual funds. And now mutual funds have taken on a whole new life of their own as well, because they have things going on that most people just don't have what they have. And so once you get to that point, you know that's a scary point. It's really, really scary, because most people just try not to. get into the market because the market just don't work like that. And so the patience is the issue because most people don't have patience. But I am going to suggest that to have the opportunities that you're looking for, you should think about what patience really means. Because if it's not patient, it's not going to work. Just not. The next thing is understanding credit scores and managing debt. Now, this actually goes across three sections. Um, when you say understanding credit scores, you know, um, if your credit score is under 600, you're going to have pretty much some high interest to pay back on anything you're financing. It's available, but it's not a big amount. It's not a really big thing, shall I say? Because if your credit score is low, and it's, like I said, if it's under 600, you know, um, there's not a lot of wiggle room for you because your interest rate is going to be pretty high. If it's um if it's over 700, then you get to run free. And when you run free, you gotta know that you've just got to um you've got to look at if you're going to get loans, what that loan is going to look like, because again, I say anything that's under 600, knowing 9 times out of 10 you're looking at interest rates that's, well, and right now today you're looking at interest rates probably at 10, 12, maybe 15%. If you have a score that's over 700, you're still looking at probably about 6%, 5, 6%. And if you've got like in the 800s, then you're gonna know that your debt is where you're gonna be coming to, because it's gonna get really, really big, and it's gonna get big real quick. And so later we'll be talking about some debt management strategies, because we want to make sure you stay stable financially. But it's normally not one of those things that, that works for a lot of people, because a lot of people don't know how to manage debt. And if you've got debt that's like almost over $100,000, but you have an annual income of $30,000, that debt to income ratio is, oh my God, that is horrible, horrible. That's horrific. You can't get a loan. You're not going to get a loan at anything, because that's just way too high, way too high. So I just don't know what else to tell you other than, you know, this is just one of those things. I mean, it's just kind of hard to talk about this because there's a lot of people in the black communities that have got way too much debt, and it's causing people to do things that's necessary for survival. And again, that's something that we have to talk about that in a different way on another show. But that's um that's way too much. Let's talk about some opportunities for entrepreneurship and wealth creation in the black community. Something that you love, whatever it is that you love, whatever you love doing, why not try to create your own business and make that work for you? Because you're an expert at it, you should know how to do that. But Just when it comes to entrepreneurship, we have a lot of folk that just don't really think about wealth creation in this way. But I will tell you this: I think it pays when you start businesses in your own community, because in your community, if you're creating a business there, people should frequent that business. People should feel proud that their kids are working at this establishment in the community, because what that will do is that's going to take you to the point that you really don't have to worry about anything. And so what the wealth creation in the black community means is, once you guys are actually building these businesses and they're getting the support of the people in the community, people aren't worried about crime, they aren't worried about theft. Everything is just normal. That's with all things being constant, as they say in economics. Then you don't really have to worry about too much other than that business flourishing, and you're bringing all the kids within that community to work within your establishment, and all that money is staying there in your community. So you got to think about that. The next thing is the impact of systemic racism on financial opportunities and access to resources. Well, now when we talk about financial opportunities. We're talking about the opportunity to most likely get a loan. Now we all know that from the normal perspective, being an African American company, uh, getting access to capital is not something that happens. It just won't happen. And so you're either going to take this high interest rate or you're going to take a higher interest rate. But that's just how the system is set up. So it's set up to keep you in one place, and that's the place of at the bottom. Um, the impact of systemic racism on financial opportunities and access to resources. Again, in underserved Black communities, this is just not there. This is just not there. I want to challenge each and every individual out there. Let's do this together where we're actually going to go out into our communities and we are going to work and we're going to pull each and every individual back into the office. And so, with that being said, we're going to discuss some financial goals and creating a roadmap for financial success. What that looks like is, you set the goals that you set. You want to make sure that you're writing it down, but also you want to kind of like dialogue, or you want to make little drawings of some art, whatever it is that you do for tracking. But you want to track exactly where you're going, when you're supposed to get there, and how you're supposed to get there. So when you get there, you'll have everything that you need and you're able to move and shake. But if you don't do that, now you're talking about just going at it from a perspective of just doing everything freehand. And if you're doing this freehand, then you're not going to succeed that way. You're just not. So, um, the last thing I want to talk about here is resources and organizations that provide financial education and support for people of color. We don't have many of these in the different communities. There are some of these that are available. I suggest that people go out or they check online, however they do research, and they find these kind of places. So if that's the case, then you just want to make sure that people are learning where the how to educate themselves with researching, and how to go out and provide support for each other, because support for each other is pretty much the only way the ball is going to get to rolling. And once the ball is rolling and it's rolling steady for a while, then you can start adding variables that will be that much better to what needs to get done. So, with that being said, I want each and every last one of you to think about how finance is going to work for you, some of the things you need to do in order to make finance work for you. Also, learn how to support each other within your community. But then, after supporting just the people within your community, and you guys have got something like that rolling in the right way, then what you're gonna have to do is you're just plain and simple. You're gonna have to take the bull by the horns, and you're gonna have to take it on, and you're gonna have to defeat it, because there's really no savior. But we can do anything we want to if we put our mind to it. And I honestly think that for all the smart people that are following this show, that you would actually be able to do it. So, then I must say, um, we've come to the conclusion of another show. Thank you all for joining us tonight for Money Thursday. Um, Please, for any additional information, I'm going to ask you guys to take the time out to leave comments here on this video, or you guys please send me emails to czkenterprise7@gmail.com. Again, send me some emails to czkenterprise7@gmail.com for any questions that you may have, or even some of the concerns that you may have when it comes to this financial literacy. I will try to get the best answers I possibly can get for you. I can answer your questions for you probably as best as I can. But I want to make sure that everything that you guys need from a resource perspective, I want to try to help to provide that as best as possible. And so that's really important to me, that if you guys do decide to do what you do, that you know that you got me for your support. So I'll be looking forward to getting emails or calls, whatever they may be. I want to thank each and every individual for watching this show. And together we will most definitely win. You all have a great evening, and we will talk.